Today we're going to look at the 12 coins problem. So we're given 12 coins. They all look and feel exactly the same, except one of them is a counterfeit that weighs slightly differently to the other 11. We're also given some balancing scales. We're allowed to use those scales 3 times. So using those 3 weighings, we need to work out which coin is the counterfeit, but also is it heavier or lighter than the others. To start with, let's set up some names just so we can keep track of what we're doing. I've split the 12 coins up into 3 groups of 4, which we're going to call A, B, and C. And then we're going to give the coins numbers. So the coins in group A are going to be 1, 2, 3, 4. In group B, they're going to be 5, 6, 7, 8. And in group C, they're going to be 9, 10, 11, and 12. For our first step, we're going to weigh all of group A against all of group B. Now, if these balance, that tells us that all of the coins in A and B are genuine, hence the counterfeit must be in group C. If this is the case, our next step, I'm going to take 3 coins from group C, so let's say 9, 10, and 11, and we're going to weigh them against 3 of the other coins. Now we know they're all genuine, so it doesn't matter, so let's just take 1, 2, 3 from group A. Now, if these balance, this tells us that 9, 10, and 11 are also genuine, hence 12 must be the counterfeit, and we can weigh 12 against any of the others for our final weighing to determine if it's heavier or lighter. Now, other cases, if these don't balance, well, if this is the case, it tells us that one of 9, 10, or 11 must be the counterfeit, and depending upon which way the scales have gone, it tells us whether the counterfeit is heavier or lighter. So if 9, 10, 11 is the heavier side, then our counterfeit must be the heavy coin. If it's the lighter side, our counterfeit must be the lighter coin. We're now going to take 2 of those coins out of 9, 10, or 11. So let's say 9 and 10, weigh them against each other. If they balance, then 11 must be the counterfeit. And we've worked out in the last step whether it's going to be heavier or lighter. If they don't balance, then 9 or 10 is the counterfeit. And again, we've worked out in the last step whether we're looking for a heavy coin or a light coin. So if we're looking for a heavy coin, the heavier out of 9 or 10 is the counterfeit. If we're looking for a light coin, then the lighter is the counterfeit. But what about if our scales don't balance? So this would tell us that one of the coins from A and B is our counterfeit. Now, suppose in this example that A ends up being the heavier side than B. If this is the case, then the counterfeit coin is either in group A and heavier than the other coins, or it's in group B and it's lighter than the other coins. This is going to be important for later. For our next step, we're going to take group A, split that in 2. We're going to put coins 1 and 2 on one side and 3 and 4 on the other. And then we're going to take 2 coins from B and put 1 with 1 and 2 and then the other one with 3 and 4. So I've got that down as 1, 2, 5 on one side and 3, 4, 6 on the other. And we're going to weigh those. If they balance, well, this is nice and easy. We now know that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 are all genuine coins. So it must be that 7 or 8 is the counterfeit. So we're going to weigh them against each other. Now, as 7 and 8 are in group B, we know that the counterfeit must be lighter. So the lighter coin out of 7 or 8 must be the counterfeit. But we could end up with 1, 2, 5 being heavier than 3, 4, 6. So what happens in this case? Well, this is a little bit trickier. But if this happens, then our only possibilities are either that 1 and 2 are counterfeit, because if they're counterfeit, they're going to be heavier because they're in group A and they would push that left-hand side down. Or 6 is counterfeit, and being in group B, it's lighter, which would make the right-hand side lighter, and it would lift. So we've narrowed it down to 1, 2, or 6. We're now going to pick 1 and 2, weigh them against each other. If they balance, they're both genuine, hence 6 is the counterfeit coin, and as it's in group B, it must be lighter. If they don't balance, then we know that 1 of 1 or 2 is the counterfeit, and as they're in group A, it's going to be heavier, So the heavier coin out of 1 and 2 would be the counterfeit one. If the scales have gone the other way, so 1, 2, 5 is lighter than 3, 4, 6, it's very similar. This time it would mean that either 3 and 4 are counterfeit, so they're heavier and they've pushed the right hand side down, or 5 is counterfeit and it's lighter, which has made the left hand side lighter. And again, we're going to take the 2 that are from group A, so 3 and 4, we're going to weigh them against each other. If they balance, the remaining coin, coin 5, is counterfeit, and as it's in group B, it's lighter than the others. If they don't balance, then again, because they're both in group A, the heavier coin out of 3 and 4 must be the counterfeit. So far we've looked at what happens if A and B are the same. We've looked at what happens if A is heavier than B. So all that's left is if it was the other way round and B was heavier than A. Well, if that's the case, we're going to follow the exact same steps as we've just done here. But our logic would just flip slightly, in that now if the counterfeit was in A, it would be lighter, and if the counterfeit was in B, it would be heavier. So our last steps would flip a little bit, but we'd still follow the same steps as we've done here. And there we go. We've worked out which coin is counterfeit using just 3 weighings on the scales. We've solved the problem. If you've enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe or check out more of my videos by clicking on the links here.